Perhaps acknowledging my mistake is a place to start, but I'm not sure where to begin. Now, it doesn't really make a difference. I'm 34 years old, and my name is Chelsea. A year ago, I would have laughed in your face if you had told me that my husband, Sam, would be doing better without me. However, here we are. I initially felt sorry for Sam after he lost his job last year. Who wouldn't? Let's face it, though, he wasn't exactly making a lot of money before that. When we initially got married, I appreciated that he was one of those solid, dependable types, but it quickly grew stale. Just so we could have nice things while he worked his steady, low-paying IT job, I was working extra hours as a dental assistant. It wasn't enough to keep us afloat, for example. I was irritated, which is not something I'm proud of, when he arrived home that day with a pale face and a wobbly voice. Good. I'll have to carry us both now. I just gazed at him as he broke down in tears in the kitchen. All I could think was, man up already. I know it sounds harsh, but in that moment, he seemed like a heavy weight, and I wasn't going to sink with him. I should have given him a hug or said something reassuring. My patience was wearing thin every day, but it wasn't instantaneous. He claimed to be looking for employment, but all I saw was him sending out a few resumes and then scrolling through his phone for hours on end while lounging on the couch. I simply didn't believe him when he said things like, I'm waiting to hear back from this one job, or, it's a tough market right now. I began to consider how my life might have turned out if I had married someone who was more driven, someone who wouldn't have fallen apart the moment life threw them a curveball. However, I didn't merely consider it, I really uttered it. Not quite in those exact terms, but nearly so. After drinking a few glasses of wine one evening, I informed him that I couldn't continue to be the only adult in the house and that he needed to get his act together. I felt horrible for a moment as his face crumbled. Then he answered, I'm doing my best, Chelsea, and I retorted, well, your best isn't good enough. He left the room, and I experienced a strange mixture of relief and rage, as if he had finally understood. In addition, why did I have to be the villain in order to say it? The fact is, I wasn't flawless either, though I wouldn't have acknowledged it at the time. I was spending money as though we had a magical safety net, going out to lunch with friends, getting my nails done, and buying clothes, all while acting as though we were only one paycheck away from financial ruin. Looking back, I realized that I was merely escaping reality, but I told myself that I deserved it because I had worked so hard. Using my credit card was more convenient than acknowledging that we were sinking and that I was contributing to the situation. After that altercation, Sam began to distance himself. The spare room, which I suppose was now his temporary office, was where he would spend hours. Unless we were having dinner, I hardly ever saw him, and even then, it was awkward. A part of me didn't care, even though I knew I should have done more to be encouraging. I was too preoccupied with my own annoyance to notice that he was crumbling under the strain. Then it reached a breaking point, at least for him. He was waiting for me in the living room one evening when I arrived home late from drinking with some girlfriends. He said, Chelsea, I think we need to talk. I rolled my eyes, wondering, what now? He said that he felt as though I no longer respected him and that I wasn't even making an effort to be there for him. He appeared worn out, as if he hadn't slept in days. Instead of denying it, I said something I will always regret. Maybe I don't. That evening, he packed his stuff and headed out. I assumed he would calm down and return in a day or two, but he never did. Months passed, and he was out there prospering while I was sinking in debt and fighting to pay my obligations. He somehow got a better job that earned more than the sum of our salaries, and he even began exercising, and was in better shape than he had ever been throughout our relationship. It was like being slapped across the face. I'm sitting at the apartment where we used to live now, trying to understand how I let everything go so wrong. To be honest, though, I still hold him partially responsible. Perhaps I wouldn't have either, if he had just been stronger and hadn't crumbled under the pressure of life. I feel that way even though I know it's unfair. Almost a year has passed since Sam left, and while I would like to say that I've made progress, I'm really just stalling. I feel like I'm drowning on some days. My credit cards are maxed out. I've been avoiding bill collection calls like it's my full-time job, and the rent is late every other month. I occasionally sit on the couch and look through his social media accounts, attempting to understand how he's doing so much better while I'm stranded here, inconsolable. Images of him at his new job, looking dapper in a suit and chatting with colleagues, or him at the gym, looking toned and self-assured, show that he's not even attempting to disguise it. What's the worst? Some of the photos feature women. They appear to have everything together, and she has this flawless grin. It bothers me so severely that I detest it. I'm still here, trying to piece together a life I thought we had created together, and I hate that he's moved on. You know what hurts the most, though? He's doing better without me. Not simply that he's doing better. As in, was I the issue? Did I cause him to lose his composure earlier? Because what does that say about me if it's true? I keep telling myself that I'm the one who was left to handle everything and that I'm the victim in this situation. To be totally honest, though, I know, deep down, that I pushed him away. I keep thinking about that night and how his face dropped when I told him I no longer respected him. Maybe I was being unkind, but I believed I was being honest. I can't get rid of this mixture of remorse and rage that comes every time I see his goofy smile on Instagram. I made an effort to make things better. I contacted him via text message a few months ago to ask if we could speak. He didn't respond for 2 days, and when he did, it was succinct and direct. I don't think that's a good idea. That was more painful than I had anticipated. I wanted to quarrel with him, to tell him that he should at least talk to me, but I restrained myself. Perhaps he is correct. Perhaps there is nothing else to say. Nevertheless, I can't help but consider how things may have turned out differently if I had handled things differently. What if I had been more patient, for example? What if I hadn't made fun of his shortcomings? Would we remain together? Instead of this polished, self-assured version of himself who no longer needs me, would he still be the man I fell in love with? However, the fury returns as I consider all the ways he let me down. He was also not flawless. He never stepped forward, and instead allowed me to bear the burden of our finances for years. He relaxed as though my hustling was sufficient for both of us. It's not like he gave me much to work with, but I know I could have been more helpful when he lost his job. I was meant to just take over after he shut down. That is also unfair. I've been making an effort lately to put myself first, whatever that means. Mostly because I needed someone to talk to who wouldn't criticize me for being a mess, I started going to a therapist. She thinks I should practice accepting responsibility, but to be honest, I'm not even sure where to begin. I was just trying to live, and sometimes that meant putting myself first, so it's not like I set out to destroy my marriage. Is that truly so bad? In order to get out of this financial hole I've put myself in, I've also been searching for a second job. It's really embarrassing. I was barely able to keep my head above water after feeling like I was the one keeping things together. Sam, meanwhile, is living his best life, treating me as if I were merely a chapter he needed to finish before he could achieve success. Although I know it won't make a difference, I still have the want to call him to apologize and let him know how much I miss him. I have to acknowledge that he has moved on. However, it's challenging. There are evenings when I sit in this empty apartment, and I can't stop thinking about how much I hate myself for pushing him away and how much I hate him for abandoning me. From here, I have no idea where to go. I feel like I'm just circling around whenever I try to come up with a plan. I might finally figure it out, or I might not. All I know is that I'm left here attempting to put the pieces of the life I believed I was creating back together. Okay, let's be honest. I should have moved on by now. Time heals, doesn't it? However, it seems to me that time only makes my mistakes more apparent. Every day when I wake up, I think about Sam, and not in the I miss my husband sense. The question that keeps coming back to me is, why couldn't I make it work? What's the matter with me? Following several months of treatment, I've just not enough self-awareness to make any real changes, but enough to see that I'm a mess. My therapist is constantly telling me, Chelsea, you need to focus on self-growth. That's excellent advice, but how can you develop when everything in your life seems to have stopped the moment Sam left? To see if dating would help, I gave it a try. As a spoiler, it didn't. A few weeks ago, I went out with a guy named Lucas, and I suppose he was decent enough. I thought, well, maybe I need someone like this, someone who's all about bettering themselves, when he became a personal trainer or something and became really interested in fitness. I was only thinking, wow, I'm not ready for this, when he began discussing his 5-year plan and how he was saving for a house midway through dinner. I felt like a phony as I sat there acting like I had my life together, and it just brought back all the things I believed Sam and I were meant to do together. I spent what seemed like an hour sitting in my car after Lucas dropped me off, just staring at the steering wheel. I didn't cry even though I wanted to. I have no idea why. Perhaps because I'm not ready to acknowledge that I've lost, even though it's painfully evident and crying feels like admitting defeat. And then there's my financial predicament. My debt is little affected by the second job I took at a coffee shop. Being 34 and barely making ends meet is embarrassing, especially in light of the fact that individuals my age are purchasing homes, taking trips, and sharing pictures of their ideal lives on Instagram. And let's not even talk about Sam's posts. They took a weekend trip to Napa to celebrate the new woman's promotion at work. Her name is Tara, by the way. I looked at the photos. She was beaming and holding a glass of wine, and Sam appeared to be having the happiest time of his life. She is everything I am not, which is why I despise her. Not because she has done anything wrong, she hasn't. She appears to have no resentment toward him for things that weren't even his fault. She supports him, and she has her life together. I can't bear her because she is the version of me that I ought to have been. I gave in and gave Sam a call last week. Even though I should have known better, I needed to hear his voice in order to feel connected, even if it was just for a short while. He responded, but his voice was different, stronger, happier. After I apologized for everything and told him how much I missed him, there was a lengthy silence until he finally replied, "Chelsea, I've moved on. I hope you can too." His voice had a quiet finality that broke something within me, without any anger or blame. After hanging up, I sat on the floor and stared at the wall, reliving every argument, every icy stare, and every instance in which I pushed him away rather than drew him in. And I realized for the first time that he was truly gone, not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically. He created a new life for himself that no longer included me. I'm currently attempting to determine what to do next. I'm still living in this awful flat. Despite working 2 jobs, I am barely making ends meet. However, I'm also beginning to believe that perhaps is where I should stay for a while. Not forever, God. I hope not forever. But long enough to learn how to stop blaming him for everything that went wrong. Long enough to understand why I was unable to simply be the person he required me to be. Maybe it's okay, but I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to forgive myself for the way I treated him. Perhaps accepting the remorse rather than allowing it to control me is a necessary step in moving on. To be honest, I probably will never have all the answers. I'm simply trying to live day by day, though. The hardest part, I suppose, is recognizing that the life you had hoped for would never return. It's not even about Sam anymore. Well, not entirely. It's about stability, partnership, and a future, all of which I believed our marriage should include. When he departed, it was more than just him leaving. It was all I believed I could rely on. I'm left clutching the fragments and attempting to make sense of everything right now. In all honesty, I doubt that I ever truly knew Sam. Or perhaps I did, but I didn't give him the respect he deserved. I was so focused on what he wasn't. He wasn't ambitious enough, he wasn't making enough money, and he wasn't giving me the life I thought I deserved, so I never appreciated what he was. He was kind, he was steady, and he was the kind of guy who would have done anything for me, and I threw it all away because I thought I could do better. And now I'm here, dealing with the fallout. It's ironic and sad, but humorous. I believed that I was the one bearing the burden of our relationship at the time. I believed that he was coasting and that I was keeping everything together. Even while it wasn't always obvious, it's evident today how much he was accomplishing. Without him, I've been adrift, hardly able to keep my head above water. He was my anchor. More often than I'd care to admit, I think about the night he departed. I keep playing it over and over in my mind, thinking I could go back and change what I said and stop pushing him away. However, wishing doesn't make a difference, does it? There is no way to reverse the harm that has been done. Trying to find a way to live with the regret is all I can do. To be honest, The regret has been the most difficult aspect. It seems like a continual burden on my chest, reminding me of all the mistakes I've made. And it's not just about Sam. It's about everything. The way I've handled my finances, the way I've treated people, the way I've been so focused on what I don't have that I've never appreciated what I do. Having to carry all of that stuff around every day is exhausting. But I've been making an effort to modify things. Not much, but it's a start. I've reduced my expenditures because I have to, not because I want to. Although I should have started budgeting years ago, I suppose it's better late than never. I've even begun reading books on self-help. I know it seems cliché, but right now I'm desperate enough to attempt anything. Even if I still have trouble understanding some of my therapist's statements, therapy has also been beneficial. For example, I theoretically understand her when she discusses accountability. It's much simpler to place the blame on someone else, even though I know I must accept responsibility for my actions. To blame Sam for leaving, to blame my parents for not teaching me how to manage money, to blame the world for not giving me what I thought I deserved. But deep down, I know that none of that changes anything at the end of the day. My life is the way it is because of the choices I've made, and that's the hardest pill to swallow. Knowing that I did this to myself, that I could have had a good life with Sam if I'd just been willing to put in the effort to appreciate him for who he was instead of resenting him for who he wasn't. But I didn't, and now I'm paying the price. I haven't talked to Sam since that phone call, and I don't think I ever will. He's moved on, and I have to respect that. As much as I want to reach out to try to fix things, I know it wouldn't do any good. He's happy now, and the one to mess that up for him. He deserves better than that. He deserves better than me. So where does that leave me? I'm not sure. I'd like to think that I'm on the path to becoming a better person, but it's a slow process. Some days I feel like I'm making progress, like I'm finally starting to get my life together. Other days I feel like I'm right back where I started, stuck in this cycle of regret and self-pity. But I guess that's just how it goes, right? One step forward, 2 steps back. What I do know is that I don't want to stay in this place forever. The bitter ex-wife, the woman who can't let go of the past. I want to move on, to find happiness again, even if it's not the kind of happiness I thought I'd have. I want to learn how to be okay on my own, without needing someone else to validate me or make me feel whole. It's not going to be easy. I know that much, but maybe that's the point. Maybe the things that are worth having are the things you have to work for. I didn't understand that when I was with Sam, but I'm starting to now. And maybe, just maybe, that's a step in the right direction. So that's where I'm at, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to make sense of everything that's happened, and trying to figure out who I am without Sam. It's not pretty, and it's definitely not easy, but it's real. And for now, that's enough. I don't even know where to start, but maybe admitting I was wrong is a good place. Not that it changes anything now. My name's Chelsea, and I'm 34 years old. If you told me a year ago that my husband, Sam, would be doing better without me, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. Sam lost his job last year, and at first I felt bad for him. Who wouldn't? But let's be real. He wasn't exactly raking it in before that happened. He's one of those steady and reliable types, and while I liked that when we first got married, it got old fast. I mean, I was pulling extra shifts as a dental assistant just so we could have nice things while he worked his predictable, low-paying IT job. Like, it was enough to keep us afloat, but it wasn't. When he came home that day, his face pale and his voice shaky, I felt this flash of something I'm not proud of. Annoyance. Like, great, now I have to carry us both. He started crying right there in the kitchen, and I just stared at him. I should have hugged him or said something comforting, but all I could think was, man up already. I know that sounds harsh, but in that moment, he felt like dead weight, and I wasn't about to drown with him. It wasn't immediate, but my patience wore thinner every day. He said he was trying to find work, but all I saw was him sending out a few resumes and then spending hours on the couch scrolling his phone. He'd say things like, "It's a tough market right now," or, "I'm waiting to hear back from this one job." And I just didn't believe him. I started thinking about how my life could have been different if I'd married someone with more ambition. Someone who didn't crumble the second life threw them a curveball. But I didn't just think about it. I said it. Maybe not in those exact words, but close enough. One night, after I'd had a couple of glasses of wine, I told him he needed to pull himself together because I couldn't keep being the only adult in the house. His face crumpled, and for a second I felt guilty. But then he said, "I'm doing my best, Chelsea." And I snapped back, "Well, your best isn't enough." He walked out of the room, and I felt this weird mix of relief and anger. Like finally he got the message, but also, why did I have to be the bad guy to say it? The thing is, I wasn't exactly perfect either. Not that I'd admit it then. I was spending money like we had some magical safety net, buying clothes, getting my nails done, eating out with friends, pretending like we weren't one paycheck away from disaster. I told myself I deserved it because I was working so hard, but looking back, I was just avoiding reality. It was easier to swipe my credit card than face the fact that we were sinking, and I was making it worse. Sam started pulling away after that fight. He'd spend hours in the spare room, which I guess was his makeshift office now. I barely saw him unless we were eating dinner, and even then it was awkward. I knew I should have tried harder to be supportive, but part of me didn't care. I was so wrapped up in my own frustration that I couldn't see that he was breaking under the weight of it all. Then came the breaking point. Well, for him anyway. One night I came home late after drinks with some girlfriends, and he was waiting for me in the living room. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days, and he said, "Chelsea, I think we need to talk." I rolled my eyes like, what now? He said he felt like I didn't respect him anymore, that I wasn't even trying to be there for him. I didn't deny it. Instead, I said something I'll regret forever. Maybe I don't. That was it. He packed a bag that night and left. I thought he'd cool off and come back in a day or two, but he didn't. Weeks turned into months, and while I was struggling to keep up with bills and drowning in debt, he was out there thriving. Somehow, he landed a better job, one that paid more than both our incomes combined. He even started working out and looking better than he ever did when we were together. It felt like a slap in the face. And now, I'm sitting in the apartment we used to share, trying to figure out how I let it all fall apart. I know that's not fair, but it's how I feel. The rent's late every other month, my credit cards are maxed out, and I've been dodging calls from bill collectors like it's my full-time job. I sit on the couch and scroll through his social media, trying to figure out how he's doing so much better while I'm stuck here falling apart. He's not even trying to hide it. Pictures of him at his new job, looking sharp in a suit, laughing with coworkers. Him at the gym, all toned and confident. And the worst part? There's a woman in some of the pictures. She's got this perfect smile, and they look like they've got it all together. I hate how much it gets to me. I hate that he's moved on while I'm still here picking up the pieces of a life I thought we'd built together. But you know what really stings? It's not just that he's doing better. It's that he's doing better without me. Like, was I the problem? Because if that's true, then what does that say about me? I keep telling myself that I'm the victim here, that I'm the one who was left to deal with everything. But if I'm being brutally honest, deep down I know I pushed him away. I thought I was being honest, but maybe I was just being cruel. And now, every time I see his stupid face on Instagram, I feel this mix of anger and regret that I can't shake. It's not like I haven't tried to fix things. I reached out to him a couple of months ago, sending a text asking if we could talk. Maybe he's right. Maybe there's nothing left to say. Still, I can't help but think about how different things might have been if I'd led things better. Like, what if I'd been more patient? What if I hadn't thrown his failures in his face? I didn't understand that when I was with Sam, but I'm starting to now. And maybe, just maybe, that's a step in the right direction. So that's where I'm at, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to make sense of everything that's happened, and trying to figure out who I am without Sam. It's not pretty, and it's definitely not easy, but it's real. And for now, that's enough.